going on, you guys? My name is Eric and welcome to another DIY video. In this one I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace your spark plugs and valve cover on your 2003 Kia Sorento. First thing is to disconnect your battery. We're doing this because there's a lot of connections that we're going to have to remove and we don't want to short anything out. So go ahead and disconnect your battery. The spacing here looks a little bit limited, so I'm going to remove the battery completely so that it doesn't cause any issues in the future. Battery out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and remove the top cover here for the windshield wiper motor. We're gonna remove all of that because it's gonna make it easier to get access to the hoses there in the back of the this intake manifold right here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that. You should be able to remove the top of it by unclipping the rubber weather stripping that goes around. Go ahead and move it to the side. Now that you have that off, you guys can maybe see that there's some screws going around the whole top of the cover right here for the windshield motor. So go ahead and remove those Phillips bolts that are on top of the cover right here. Before you're able to get the cover off, you need to remove the wiper blades. That's held down by 14mm nuts, so go ahead and remove them. To remove your guys' wiper blade, go ahead and get the wiper blade and put it at an angle. So just go ahead and lift it where it curves right here on the wiper blade. That should relieve all the pressure on the stud right here and you should be able to take it off. So you're pretty much just, it's going to be like this in the car, so go ahead and just fold it like that and then pop it up. We're going to go ahead and get this cover off, but before you do that, go ahead and loosen up this last Phillips clip right here that was hidden by the wiper blade. So go ahead and loosen that up. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and get the cover off. So we're just picking this up. With all the clips off, it should be easy to come off. Make sure that they're all loosened fully so that you guys don't have any resistance taking this out. So we're gonna pretty much do the same thing to the other side. When removing parts in your car, make sure to leave them in a place that you're going to remember where they go. For example, I'm just putting off all the stuff that come off from the same spot, like in one location. So I have the weather strip, the little covers right here with all the clips and the wiper blades, so that I know where they go in the future. And we're going to be using that a lot today because we're going to be removing a lot of bolts and a lot of sensors off of this car. So we want to go ahead and put things back where they go. So after we remove those covers, we're going to remove some 10mm bolts that go across this metal rail here. So we're going to go ahead and remove those. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and remove those 10mm bolts. Go ahead and get your ratchet and get yourself like a long extension so that you're able to get the bolts in the back. So I don't think we need to remove the motor here for the wipers. All you probably need to do is just remove these bolts right here. These two bolts, this bolt right here. And then I think that should be it. Go ahead and make sure to get that one right here for the bracket down here. And then loosen up the connection, this connection, loosen it up from here so that you're able to put this pry it out. Also make sure to get your electrical connection and make it so that it can go through, so that it's sticking out this way. For the motor, for the wiper blades, the studs that it has like a washer on it, so make sure to put those back where they go. With all that being loosened up, we can go ahead and try removing this thing. And then go ahead and disconnect the motor right here by unclipping this clip. So go ahead and remove that out of the way, and then also make sure to put this wire, make it so that it can come out of this side, so that when you remove this, it doesn't push this out. So it turns out we're gonna probably need to remove the whole wiper blade assembly motor. So it's pretty much the same thing. We're gonna be removing these two bolts right here, and it should just come off. I'm putting my fasteners in specific locations on the car, so since I took these from the top, I'm gonna leave them right here next to this circle right here, this little cave. So I'm gonna just leave them in there so that I know they go here. Now that we have all that removed, our wiper blade motor is loose, but before we're able to pry this off, we need to go ahead and remove this clip. All you need to do is just get like a flathead or something and just pry it up so that you can get this clip off of the rail. So let's go ahead and remove the assembly here for the wiper blade motor. Now that we have that motor out of the way, we can go ahead and get access to the last stud holding on the metal rail right here. So let's go ahead and remove that. After we remove everything on the top of the engine right here, we're gonna go ahead and just get this little metal shield out of the way. So just go ahead and pull on it. If there's any resistance, it's probably because of glue, but you should be able to just pry this out. Now that we've removed that cover out of the way, you can see that there's a lot of more working area on the back of the engine, which is gonna come in handy when we're removing the intake manifold out of the way. So for now, what we're gonna do is remove our intake assembly here. Go ahead and disconnect your mass airflow sensor. After you remove your mass airflow sensor, go ahead and loosen up the clips that go around the airbox. Now that we have everything loosened up, it should just come off. When you get the intake ducting loose, before you remove it, there's this little vacuum hose right here that goes to it. So just go ahead and remove that. Now you can go ahead and leave everything on the throttle body and just remove the throttle body itself. You just need to remove these studs right here that go through the intake manifold right here. But since I don't have a gasket for the throttle body and I don't want to risk making it rip on me, I'm just going to remove everything that's attached to it so that I can just take all of this off as a unit. Go ahead and remove everything that's attached to the throttle body right there. So go ahead and remove that connection, that hose, and the throttle position sensor right up there. Alright you guys, so I'm just going to remove all the connections right here. Go ahead and remove your idle air control sensor plug right here. Do the same thing with the throttle body position sensor, or the throttle position sensor, my bad. After you do that, go ahead and loosen up these hoses that go to the throttle body assembly right here. All you gotta do is just unclip some clamps and just push them out of the way. So it turns out that I misunderstood what those hoses were. They're actually coolant line hoses. So just be careful and you get like a catch pan underneath the car, because coolant is going to come out of them. With most of the stuff out of the way on that side, we're going to go ahead and focus on the middle section right here. So we're going to remove all the connections on the top of the engine. If you have an air tool, this would be a good time to use it because there's a lot of 10mm bolts that you need to remove. So with that being said, let's get to it. As you take things off, if you can, put the stud or the bolt back where it goes so that you don't misplace things. And be careful with some of these sensors because you don't want to damage any of them. So just remove them with care so that you don't damage them. Alright, so we're going to disconnect this sensor right here, move this harness out of the way, and we're also going to disconnect some of these guys right here. Alright you guys, so we're going to move the cables right here for the throttle body. These are pretty simple. All you got to do is just pretty much push down and away from the wire, and they should pop off. So as you guys can see right here, this goes on to this guy right here, so you're just pushing this way. And then with this one, you gotta kind of move the throttle cable all the way in so that you're gonna pretty much just push this tab down and it should pop out. Just like that. Alright you guys, so we're gonna go ahead and continue removing the stuff. Next, go ahead and remove your coolant temperature sensor, and then you can also remove the connections that go to the crankshaft and the camshaft sensors right here at the bottom. They're just clips that need to be clipped off. Once you have that all removed, go ahead and move this to the side. Go ahead and take off the studs right here, the bolts that go holding on the accelerator cable right here. Just go ahead and take them all the way out. Put this aside. Put them back on so that you know where they go. Alright, so now we're just going to move this to the side, and then we'll deal with that in a second when we're doing the left sides of the engine. So now that we have the wiring harness pretty much all loosened up, there's some connections back here that you need to remove, like ground wires and stuff, so we'll go ahead and do that now. So we're going to go ahead and start removing some of the connections on this side of the engine. First, go ahead and disconnect the purge solenoid sensor right here that goes to this connection right here. So just go ahead and remove that. Also, go ahead and disconnect this ground wire right there. There's a little bolt going through it, so we want to disconnect that. Alright, so go ahead and just put the bolt back in where it came out of. Our wiring harness is pretty much loosened up, but there is an issue that we can't get this over because there's this cable that goes to the power steering. So all you need to do is get like a flathead screwdriver and then wedge it in between the connection right here. Just twist it and just work your way around it and it should just come off. Just like that. I forgot to mention to you guys to remove the engine oil dipstick because you can break it. I've seen a guy doing this and he broke it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove it. And if you want, you can get like a little rag and put it in there to get any debris out. With the wiring harness out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and remove some of these clamps that are holding down this coolant little like rail. So just be careful because on these Kias, if you don't have like the nipple right here for the radiator that's made out of metal, you can break it. So just be careful when you're prying this off of here because it's very fragile and you can break it, and usually in order to fix that you need to replace your radiator, so just be careful. So some coolant might leak out of these hoses, so just be prepared. So yeah, you should definitely remove the coolant from your engine if you're going to do this because it makes a mess. So all you need to do to remove the coolant is to get underneath the car, there should be like a little Phillips type of screw underneath the radiator. Let it flush so that you won't make a mess while you're doing this. So now we're just going to continue removing these metal rails right here for the coolant. There's a 12mm bolt over there that's holding this on here. And we also need to remove some clamps that go to the reservoir. You also want to remove this other one right here. And we're also going to be loosening up most of this stuff over here, going across over here. So we'll keep going. So when removing this rail, make sure to not press hard on this side of the clamp because on here there's a plastic nipple coming from the radiator that if you press hard on it, you can break, and the only solution to fix that is to get a new reservoir. So just be careful with that, and also be careful with the radiator because this car has 230,000 miles so far, and I mean there's a lot of things that are just, you know, old. I'm just gonna remove the clamp from right here because we just recently replaced this reservoir. This one here is really tight on there and I don't want to risk anything, so I'm just gonna be careful and remove this clamp right here and then just pry out nice and slow. Remember not to break this. And if you flush your coolant, you shouldn't make a mess. So good thing that the water came out because you know water will be coming out of here. But this is what I'm talking about. You don't want to break this. This is just plastic, and over time this gets so hot that it gets brittle and it breaks. You know, if I would have wheeled with this, I just had it would have broken. So it's just something to look out for, you guys. Okay, so we're just gonna remove this rail out of here. We're also gonna remove this one right here as well. Just remove this 10mm and pry this off of here, and then we need to move this out of the way. We should be able to just sneak this metal rail through here because I couldn't take this off. It's so old and brittle. I don't want to rip this hose, so I just left it on like that. To remove this rail up here, we need to loosen up these fasteners right here. So loosen up this 10mm bolt right here, and then you're also going to need to remove this bolt right here. You also need to remove the bracket right here that holds down the crankshaft and the camshaft sensor. So just remove this 10mm bolt and then put it out to the side. pretty much removing this bolt right here. Alright, these are kind of long because they go through the cover of the timing belt. So once we have that out, should be able to wiggle this out. Disconnect this hose right here that goes to this little guy right here. I don't even know what that is, but just go ahead and remove it. And then let's see if we can try to sneak this out of here without having to remove this hose, because it's, like I said, it's kind of hard to take it off. Looks like if you wiggle it enough, it should come off. So I don't think it teared anything up, so we should be okay. So just go ahead and move this to the side, and you don't need to disconnect it from here. You could just move it to the side like I have it right here, so that's out of your way. Now we're gonna pretty much focus on doing the sides right here. We need to remove this bracket. There's I believe this is either a 10 or 12. Remove this, and we need to remove 2 bolts there on the bottom right here. Okay, so let's start off by removing the purge sensor right here. It's held down by a 10mm bolt. Go ahead and remove it. And then we're just gonna push this back here so that it's out of our way. Be careful with these hoses. If they haven't been replaced, they're gonna be really brittle. So just don't move it too much if you can avoid it, because they will break on you. I'm just gonna remove the rail completely because I see that it's gonna be an issue in the future. So just go ahead and remember the orientation that these hoses came out of, and then just put them back how they came on. Alright, so with the battery out of the way, you guys can see that it's beneficial in this section right here, because if the battery was in our way, we were gonna have to like sneak in there, you know. So just go ahead and remove the battery. Okay. Let's just do both sides right here. They're all 12mm right here. So with all the bolts removed, just remove your bracket, and then if you want, you can go ahead and get the bolts that came out of it and just put it back where they go so that you don't lose them. Now that we have that bracket on the other side of the engine off, we need to remove these 2 brackets, this bracket right here and this bracket. They're both held down by 12mm bolts, so go ahead and remove those. These are all the same size, so don't worry if you lose track of where they go. So now let's remove this bracket right here. I lied about all of them being 12mm on this car. This one right here is a 14mm for some reason. So all you gotta do is just use a 14mm. Alright, so this is that 14mm bolt that I was talking about. This is much fatter than this one, so maybe that's how it's supposed to be. So just put it back where it came from. So now that we have that bracket out of the way, we need to remove this hose right here that goes to the intake manifold. Also, you need to remove a vacuum line back here, right here, where you guys can see it. So that connects to the back of here. So go ahead and disconnect that. and disconnect this hose right here. It's kind of hard to see, but let me see if I can get a close-up of it. And you remove that one, and there's one right there. Let's see. This guy right here that connects to the back. So remove those both. This hose looks like it's for the brake booster. So just go ahead and wiggle that out. You could probably get a flathead and just wedge it in there. So we're pretty much done with everything that needs to be removed on the top of the engine, and as well with the side. But before we move on to removing the intake manifold, we do need to remove this bracket right here for the power steering. This is held down by two 12s right here and a 14mm down here. So go ahead and remove that. Okay, you guys, so now that we pretty much have everything removed from the top and on the sides of the engine, we need to remove these 12mm bolts that hold down the intake manifold down. So just go ahead and remove those. Okay, so let's start off with the first one right here in front of the engine. This is going to be probably one of the smaller ones out of all of them. Go ahead and do the other ones. Okay, so go ahead and remove all of those, and then there's going to be one more in the back that is exactly like this one, so just go ahead and remove it from the back. Alright, so looking at these side by side, looks like this one is a little bit shorter, so I just removed them like this, and I'm not gonna mess with them. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna remove them all the way down, and then I'm gonna just install it like that when I put it back on. So loosen them all the way until they come off, and then we'll pull this off, and we shouldn't mess anything up this way. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and try to remove the intake manifold. So I'll just go ahead and grab it from the throttle body and over here and just pull up straight.